Hello guys, this is a video solution about the homework that was given to you the other day. So the homework, it will ask you to create a layout using CSS that is similar to this one. Gray, green, orange borders. It doesn't have to be exactly the same, but almost the same, yeah? And then we'll follow the instructions to write a JavaScript code that will check if the first name is empty and display the appropriate message. So I'll show you the CSS that I've already done. This is the CSS which is already done and displays exactly what the homework asks you to do, and this is the page. Alright, contact form, you see the padding, the colors, everything is almost the same, yeah? Now I'll proceed. When you press on the submit button, nothing happens. So it is very, very important, because I've seen your homework, the one that I corrected, that when you are given instructions to create a form, you actually don't create a form. It is very important to create a form, especially when we use the JavaScript submit button, because later on we will need the event listener to be linked to the form. So it is very important to use a form, especially when the instruction says so. My form's name is called contact form, and I will need this later on. And the input boxes are named as well. It is very important to set the type of the H input, because later on you will need to get and check the type of this field. So these are the names of the fields and the name of the form. Let's start with the JavaScript. One very important note here: I usually use 99% of the time use the JavaScript code at the end of my HTML body, and there's a reason for that. When you load a page, the first thing that is loaded, executed, is the script. So sometimes you might want to access an HTML element that is not yet instantiated, created. So if the code is not at the bottom, then it might return an error message, which it happened in the past, yeah, with some of you. So it's better, I think, that you put your JavaScript code at the end of your HTML document. So let's go back to the instructions. It says write a JavaScript function which will check that the first name input box on the form is not empty when the form is submitted. So when the form is submitted, I have to have an action. In order to be able to see when the form is submitted, since I'm not using an on-click event on the button and I'm using an input to submit the form, I need an event listener. So I need to create a variable that will be my form contact. All right? And that will be document.forms and the name of the form. This will copy the form to this variable. The form name is contact form. Alright. So once I do that, I need to create on this form I just created, I need an event listener. So form contact dot add event listener, and the event listener will be listening when the submit value is actually, the form is submitted. That's the submit value, and then it will call a function. So function, we can name it anything we want. We check the contact, so contact alright. So it will be listening for the submit value and then execute this function. The submit value is here. We have an input here, input style, input submit value submit. So that's my submit button. Once that is clicked, this one, then the event listener will be initiated and the function will be called. So I need a function now. Function contact function sorry, and then you've got that. Now in here I would like to pass a parameter, the event. That's the one I'm actually calling when I'm waiting for the event listener. So why do I do that? Because I want to cancel any previous submission from the form. So to do so is event dot prevent default. This subprogram, this function, will cancel any previous submissions and not send my parameters into a new page. Usually, just a bracket here to explain the form. The form with the submit button and the post, usually what it does, it passes as parameters to another page the variables of the form. We don't want that because we're not using PHP and we're not saving anything into a database. So we want the current page to handle the JavaScript. So we need to cancel the previous event and prevent the form from resetting. So this is the command, event.preventDefault. So what's next? I don't remember, so I'm going to go back to my instructions. Yeah, I'll check if the first name input box on the form is not empty when the form is submitted. So for this, I will need an if function. Yeah. So if, what is the form name? Contact form. If contact form. I need the document. Yeah. Document dot forms contact form, and then the name of the input, which is name. So if this is empty, so that's the string, an empty string, but you just need the quotes. This is an empty string. So if this string is empty, then you need to display an alert saying that the name cannot be empty. So the best method to see if all this works is to just try it. Yeah. Submit, nothing happens. Check the console. It's a good thing that there is an error, so we can see how to fix the error. So you go back to the console, line 68, it says contact form is not defined. So 68 form contact.add event listener submit contact function. That's an uppercase C. It's case sensitive. Yeah. So probably this is the problem. I'll refresh the page. The error is gone. Give it a try. Nothing happens again. F12 doesn't return an error message. So I'll go back to my code again and check my event listener. Submit. I've got the contact form, which I get. This is the name of the form. That's correct, uppercase F. What I can do now, that's a very good thing that we get these error messages, because this is the process. Yeah, no one will get it right the first time. So I've got a suspicion now that my function is not called, and I want to check this out. So what I'm going to do to see if my function is actually called, I'm going to use the console.log output, which we have learned, to check if my function is called. So my function is called. I will save, go back to my page, refresh, and then press the submit button. My function is indeed called. Did you see that? So my function is called. So what's my error message? I'm going to go back again and check. So if the function is called, then it's the if function, that it's the if the condition, the if statement. Document dot forms contact form name. That's my contact form. That's correct. And the name is name. Dot value. I'm not getting the value. I'm referring to the object, but I didn't get the value of the object. I was just referring to the object. So I'll save it, go back to my HTML page, refresh, press submit, and then I get my message. So that's the process. It 99% will not work the first time, especially when you're not an experienced programmer like I am. So there is a way to troubleshoot, and that's how you can do it. So I've done this. Go back to the instructions and move on. You can comment out your troubleshooting or just delete it. It's up to you. Yeah. So go back to. So if it's not empty when the form is submitted. So if the name is empty, then display a pop-up message, which we did. Yeah. Else add the name in the array. So if this is correct, so if it's not empty, I need to add it to the array. So what array? Let's check our instructions. In order to check the names, we needed to create an array called names array. So I'm going to go back to the beginning of my form, of my script, and I will add an array called names array. That's just the name, yeah? Equals, it's going to be empty. So this is how you initiate an array. You can instantiate, create. You can have the word new next to it typed, but it's not, you don't really have to put it there. You can skip it. So that's my array created. So I need to store that now into my array. How do I store it? Names array dot push. There's this little program created for us by JavaScript creators that will push any value into your array. And what's my value? Where is my value? This is my value. Copy, paste. How do I know that it worked? I'll use the console again, .log, and I'll check if my array, so this is my array value. Yeah, so I will have the array here, names array dot toString. I'm using another subprogram now that will display my code. So if I go back to my web page, refresh, keep my fingers crossed, I click on submit, I should get an error message. I don't get one. What's wrong again? Back to my code. Why don't I get an error message? If the document, that one was working, yeah? It was working just fine. Else, do that. So, no. It should work. F12. Yeah, there's an error. 78. That's why it crashes. I forgot to use the concatenation character, the one that merges the string with the value. Yeah, the plus sign. So go back to this one, refresh. The error is not good. There is another error in line 80. I closed it. I forgot to close the function, so the function closes there. All right. So go back to save, go back to the page. The error is gone. By the way, when I save, I hit Control S. Yeah. Refresh, submit, cannot be empty. If I write down a name, submit, check my log file. This is my array value George. So if I submit again, I'm going to have 2 values. Again, 3 values. So it's pushing the names, yeah? So I'm going to have 4 values now. Submit. So I have 4 values into my array. So it works like a charm. So far, so good. So go back to the code and see what's next. We've done this bit. So we need to add a code to a JavaScript function to check that the H box contains a numeric value. So I need to check if it contains a numeric value. So I'll use another condition, yeah? If document dot forms. Bear in mind, let me show you another way here. Bear in mind that you can use a variable, let's say variable age, and assign the value of the variable to the variable from the form. So again, form name, which is conduct form. I have first used the variable name age, which was misleading because I was getting the value instead of the type. So if you want to get the type, you need to say dot type, document.forms, my form, age input dot type. So form age input and dot type to get the type. So you will need an if condition again. If document dot forms conduct form. Actually, I don't need to do that because I've already done it. I've got it here. So if age type equals number, then type is number. That's all I need to know, yeah? So I can have a console here, .log, saying that the age type is number. Save, refresh, F12, submit. The age type is number. Yeah? Excellent. Go back to the homework. Uncoded just to check that the age textbook contains a numeric value, so it's a number. So add further code to your JavaScript function to test if the checkbox at the bottom of the form has been checked. How do we do that? Again, an if condition statement. If document.forms, the name of the form, which is conduct form, the name of the checkbox, which is checkbox, if I remember correctly, dot checked. So if this checkbox is checked, so conduct form, checkbox, there's the name, dot checked, then alert checkbox is checked. Yeah, that's what it says. So that's one thing. You can comment this out if you want. You can say else checkbox is not checked, so alert you need to accept the policy. Yeah, save, go back, refresh, submit. You need to accept the policy. Accept. Excellent. Everything works just fine. If I uncheck it, error message. You check it. Excellent. That's it. Thank you very much. Ta-da.